Welcome to the Fine to Fab show with Lisa Lieberman-Wang, helping women reclaim their inner peace and power, going from feeling fine to being fab, fabulous, awesome, beautiful, serving to empower you to break through the barriers that weigh you down, to live an authentic life that is healthy, happy, and free. Now, here's Lisa.
Hello, everyone. I'm Lisa Lieberman-Wang, your trusted guide on your journey from feeling fine to being fab. And I'm excited that you're with me today, and as well my special guest, Deb Battersby. You'll be hearing from her in a moment. Before we actually get started, I want to make sure that you know how to contact us and even call in if you'd like to be able to ask any questions. You can do that by going on Skype and putting in W4WN Radio and be one of our call-in listeners. If you'd like to also, you can go onto the website for W4WN.com, and there's a little chat there. You can join us there. And of course, make sure you're part of our community and follow along by going to Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and follow me, Lisa Lieberman-Wang, or go to the site, findtofab.com, and make sure you get our free gifts and other things that we always have available to you. If you'd like to also be able to find out how to get more, I love this, you can just text the keyword FIND2FAB to 90210 and hit send. So with no further ado, I want to let you know a little bit about our guest and my friend, and I'm happy to be able to say that. Her name is Deborah Battersby. She is a leader in the field of performance coaching, using neuroscience, quantum physics, and pattern recognition to solve the individual success puzzle. Deb helps her clients align the right pieces to get higher level results easier than ever before. She has award-winning achievement through her clients who have been with Ernst & Young 2012 Young Entrepreneur of the Year Awards, who call her the secret weapon. She's an avid puzzle geek and mystery buff and is intrigued with problem solving and clue gathering. And you'll understand more as you listen to her on how she literally can see things that most people would just be eluded by, and what makes some people succeed while others fail. And she is just phenomenal. She also was and is a Robbins Research International Master Trainer. Tony Robbins has trusted her with his VIPs and personal guests for over 15 years. Her coaching methods have helped thousands create effective change and get the results they wanted. And I am so happy to have her here because I've been blessed to have her in my life and to have coached me over the last few years. And I want you to meet my friend, Deborah Battersby. You there, sweetheart?
I am definitely here and very excited to visit with you and your audience today.
This is going to be exciting because I think some of the conversations we've had in the past have been so extraordinary, but most people never hear the stuff that we share and the way that you've taught me as well as so many other people to really just change our thinking. And I'm excited about the title of this topic today because we talked about turning your fears to freedom and the secrets to your emotional guidance. So we're going to learn a lot about that. And I know that one thing I didn't get to say is that you are an author and a speaker, and I'll have you share more information about that later so people can learn more. Is that good?
That sounds perfect.
Okay, awesome. So Deb, to get started, why don't we give people just a bit about your background so we can fully understand what it is you do and even why you chose to take this path?
I'd love to. For me, personal development has been a passion for more than 30 years. And like most people listening to our program today, that we get on the path of personal development because we're looking at how are we going to take ourselves to the next level, or how are we going to overcome a particular challenge in our lives. And I remember, being in sales very early in my career and being an entrepreneur, self-employed, I knew that I needed to figure things out fast, that I needed to learn how to access my best as quickly as possible, to learn how to understand people so that I could know how to connect with them where they're at and how to help them take the steps that they wanted to take but were afraid to take in whatever decisions they were making and whatever business I was in. So the journey began for me to figure out how to be better myself, but also how to serve other people at a much higher level. And that started 30 years ago.
That's awesome. And when you were, even as you say, an entrepreneur, what were some of the challenges that you had to overcome to be able to move forward? Because I know that a lot of our audience are entrepreneurs, business people, that are really sometimes feeling like they're entrepreneurs. Maybe they're in positions where they feel like they're alone and they don't have that kind of support. And what they tell themselves isn't always positive.
What's great about that question is almost always what we face is one fear or another, whether it's the fear that I haven't figured it out yet, that I don't know enough, the fear that I'm going to say or do the wrong thing, the fear that I'm going to take a risk that's going to end up being less than positive in the result, the fear of rejection, the fear of judgment, the fear of, being compared to other people. I think we face in business all the same fears we face on the playground, starting as little as, when we're first starting out in school. Am I going to be liked? Am I going to be accepted? Am I going to be included? Are people going to trust me? Are people going to want to play with me? Are they going to want to work with me? Are they going to want to be on my team or want me on their team? We all have some kind of those doubts or insecurities or fears. And so starting into sales and entrepreneurism early on, I had to look those fears pretty fiercely in the eye.
Yeah, and I know that your background happened to have been in real estate originally, and then
yes.
Before you got into the personal development, and a lot of people know there's so many people out there doing it, so competition is fierce on if they're going to want to choose you or somebody else. But some of the things that, as you know, we both have been unbelievable students of this world of personal growth and development. There's only two fears that we're born with, and it's loud noises and falling. Every other fear we've created.
and ultimately boiling down to the fear that I'm not enough and that I won't be loved or accepted.
Right. So how do we help our listeners learn to not have those fears? It's like we would have the magic bullet and charge $2 billion because everyone wants this answer. I know that.
Well, the beautiful thing about it is, and this has been the evolution of my work for the last, 13 years, is that I always thought that fear was my enemy, that fear was the thing that was going to stop me in my tracks. And what I've discovered is that fear is nothing more than information and energy. And what I've discovered in, working in what I call the emotion matrix is that fear rarely, like maybe 1 in 100 times, fear actually wants to stop you. Fear usually has a few dozen other messages that are options if you really look into the fear as to what does it really want. And I'm going to, if it's okay with you, Lisa, I'm going to talk as if fear is an entity, as if it's a person or an individual that's a part of who you are. And let's just say that fear comes along as a counselor, and that every time you feel fear, that there's a reason for it. Fear is usually going to show up and say, look, this is a new environment for you. You don't know the ropes. You need to get your antenna up and be more alert than usual. You need to pay attention to subtle cues. So fear is not saying run the other way. Fear is just saying, hey, this is brand new. You need to approach it differently. Oftentimes, fear will be, and fear can come in a message of caution. If you're fearful, it just means it's time to be a little more cautious about your decision making, a little more cautious about your information gathering, so that you can create some certainty for yourself as to how you should actually move forward and proceed. Fear often shows up as an indicator that it's here to protect you. It wants you to be on guard for a reason. On guard so that you are more aware than you might be in a typical situation. A lot more aware than if you're cuddling up on the sofa next to your honey and watching television, than when you're maybe walking down a dark street in an unfamiliar neighborhood. Do you see how radical the difference is in terms of how aware you need to be?
Sure, it's night and day.
And that's what fear is all about. It's saying, look, I'm calibrating the environment for you. There are some things that are new and different here, and I want you to be as prepared as possible. And it's interesting because oftentimes people will say, I am terrified of going into this appointment. In that case, fear says, are you prepared? Have you done everything that you could have done or wanted to do or needed to do to step into this particular situation with confidence and, the moxie that you wanted to have? So fear often means prepare.
I like that. I actually changed the acronym a while back to face everything and rise above it. So that's my fear.
Yeah, I love that. Because fear rarely, as I say, fear rarely ever wants you to flee. And yet we have an association that goes back to our evolution, in that we have a part of the brain that has an automatic response to that kind of stress. Anytime, like if you were being chased by a saber-toothed tiger, you would know that in that case, you are going to run as fast and as far as you can. In some cases, as we know, in the presence of fear, people are going to do them instinctively. They are going to fight, because in some fear situations you have to fight. You really have to, defend yourself. In other situations, you're going to be so overwhelmed that you might freeze. You don't know what to do. You don't know where to go. You can't see your way out, and you don't know what's coming. In other situations, you're going to run. You're going to flee. But the fascinating thing about that instinctive autonomic response was created at a time when the world was a pretty scary, threatening place, that we didn't have all the resources that we have now. We had to be fearful of whether or not we had food or shelter. We had to be fearful of, at which end of the food chain we were on, if you know what I mean. So, yes. So our automatic response is triggered by an evolutionary kind of sensor that we have. And so anytime we feel any kind of stress, we interpret it as if it's one of those life-threatening situations. That's how the nervous system operates. But we have evolved so far beyond that limbic brain that we are now, there's an opportunity for us in our own evolution as a species to face fear in a completely different way. That we really can, as you say, Lisa, and I love your example, we can rise above it by facing it. And the way that I encourage people to do that is to recognize that, again, all emotion is energy and information. It's an energetic stimulation in the body that contains some information on guiding you in the right direction.
Now, knowing that, and I can hear that, let's say that someone knows intellectually that this is just energy and everything else. What are some tools that can be used to kind of calm it down so they don't think that this saber-toothed tiger is going to kill them, and put it in perspective, but also use that fear to move forward? Because I know a lot of people who just use it as their means to stop.
Absolutely. And, everything begins with awareness, Lisa. And it's just the awareness that, and it really goes back to the fundamental principle that has helped me explore this work and really unravel these emotional patterns and what I call the matrix, is the belief that there is no such thing as a negative emotion. And I know some of you are probably thinking, oh my God, that's like fingernails on a chalkboard. How can you say that? And the reason I say that is because all emotion is designed, because think about this, this is your emotion. And nothing that you do automatically or intuitively would ever be designed to intentionally harm you. Not intentionally. Doesn't mean that we can't do things that have some pretty severe side effects. But our body is not designed to harm us. Nothing about it is designed to harm us. If you could think of it like, okay, if you just think of the systems of the body and you think of the nervous system and the respiratory system and the skeletal system and the muscular system and the endocrine system, Lisa, I just want to ask you, do you think any of us could improve on any one of those systems?
Well, I think they work pretty well when we feed them properly.
Well, exactly. The systems are flawless. What
Right.
we do with them is often a challenge.
Yes.
But the greatest scientists, the greatest medical minds in the world cannot improve on the system. All
Right.
they can do is support the system and repair the system. Nobody's ever engineered an improvement on any of those biological systems.
Absolutely.
Would you agree?
Yeah,
So
I've never heard it that way before, but it's true.
But if that's the case, then why would our emotional system be anything less than flawless?
Something to
So
think about. Mm-hmm.
exactly. So with that, I thought, well, if it's flawless, then why does it feel so awful at times? And
Yes.
I thought, well, it's probably because it's flawless. We just don't know how to use it. And so if it's flawless, it would never do intentional harm. It is only intended for our, first of all, our survival. Every system in the body is designed for survival. The next, and everything we know about human evolution is that the first level of experience for any organism to exist is to be able to survive. So our emotional system is first set to ensure survival. The second thing, once our survival is pretty secure, like we have food and shelter and we know that, there's no predator around the corner that's about to devour us, then we're free to let the system do what it does next, and that's to grow us in our knowledge and our expertise and our experience. And, we're amazing. And I don't even know if anyone knows what the capacity is for human potential, but it's beyond anything we can measure at this point in time. So once survival's intact, then we then are focused on growth. And as we're growing, the next stage of our evolution is our self-actualization, the full expression of our gifts. And I kind of like to think of it like a flower. And, the first thing for the flower is for the seed to germinate and set roots and be able to just absorb the nutrients from the soil, or the soul, depending on how you look at it. And
Mm-hmm.
and they both work, and let that, and once those nutrients are there, then the plant has the opportunity to grow forward, to grow upward, to grow toward the light. And we all know that most plants at some point flower or produce their gift, whatever that is. And once that growth experience is fully expressed, then we have the actualization, whether it's the blossoming of the rose or whether it's the bearing of the fruit. But there is a point at which we come to full expression. And so if all other organisms are designed that way, is it possible that human beings are designed that way as well?
Absolutely.
And so everything about us is designed, if that is true, and I subscribe to that, I totally believe that's true. So if that's true, then as organisms, we grow through this establishing our survival base, kicking into growth, and then moving into full expression. And the very, very cool thing about us that's kind of different than most organisms, we can hit rough spots where our growth is challenged, and we might revert back into survival because radical things have changed in our environment. The loss of a job, the loss of a relationship, a health challenge. So many things can kick us back into a more survival-based emotional position. And so from my perspective, from there, we get to grow again. We get to grow and then express our next level of evolution and actualization. So we have this amazing system that keeps guiding us from ensuring our stability and survival to supporting our growth to, helping us flourish and share our gift, whatever that is with the world. So again, my first recommendation is if you just look at your emotions differently, look at them as though that, if you feel angry is not a wrong emotion. Angry is not a bad emotion. Angry is energy and information. Angry has something to tell you. Angry usually shows up because there's something going on that you have not been honest about with yourself or someone else. Angry because someone has in some way violated the rules of your relationship. And that angry usually wants us to speak up, wants us to say what's really going on, wants us to express ourselves and not stuff our hurt or our disappointment. And so angry is not there so that we go out and, either beat holes in walls or kick cats or things or or anything like that, or even go to the gym and hit a punching bag. But that is one way to release it. But there are ways to release our emotions, but always our emotion is there for a reason, and it wants something for you. And by the way, once you actually do what it wants, what it's trying to get you to move toward, all of a sudden that anger or that fear or that frustration is resolved because your entire body, the unconscious and the conscious mind have come to a resolution that it was here to. It's kind of like, how all of us have probably had a parent or a teacher or somebody who kind of nagged us, who said, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this. And, finally we just did what we were supposed to do and the nagging stopped. Mm-hmm. True?
Yes, absolutely.
Well, your emotions are kind of like that. They are not going to give up on you. If you're in a particular emotional state and your body wants you to do something different, it's going to nag you and nag you and nag you until somehow, some way, you accept the guidance of these emotions. Now, I know that sounds it sounds simplified, and I don't mean to oversimplify it, because it has taken me years, really years, to figure out, or to learn is more accurate, to learn the intention behind so many of these emotional patterns. But there is a way for you to, and I'm just going to give you a couple of simple things that you can do to try and get guidance in the moment. And the first thing, as I say, don't judge that emotion. If you're feeling it, it's real, it's yours, and it's here for a reason. And most of the time, we don't process these emotions because we judge them as being inappropriate. So rather than get their guidance, we just try to, bury them, stuff them, contain them, control them, disassociate from them. We do all kinds of things to avoid the communication. So here's what you do instead. You just take a couple deep breaths in and notice, where do you feel that emotion in your body? And just really allow yourself to be still for a moment, really taking those deep breaths in, bringing your attention directly to your body and noticing, where do you feel that in your body? Where do you feel that? And then just be with it. Just allow yourself to be present with it. Allow yourself to experience it. And this part, the step 2, is just imagine that you're going to have a conversation with it. It's really that simple. And if it's fear and you're feeling it like in your throat, and you're bringing your attention to it, you're breathing into it. And the thing that I always ask is, okay, why are you here? What do you want for me? And you can ask those questions, just to yourself a few times. And sometimes you'll get an immediate response. Sometimes you will get like a light bulb flash of a thought that, oh my God, that's it. And sometimes it'll take a while before it comes. But just visit with it for a few moments. And then and if you don't have time to spend with it to get clarity in that moment, just go about your day. And don't be surprised when a couple hours later, it just pops up. It is revealed to you in a way that you go, oh my gosh, that makes sense.
Is there a third step, or is that just the first 2? Don't judge and imagine the conversation that, and breathing into and ask those questions. Is there a third?
Well, it's the realization. It's kind of like, first of all, there's 2 steps or 3 steps. It's just breathing into your body, getting connected. 2, locating it in your body is step 2. Step 3 is more asking the question, okay. and just letting the answer come. Most of us are a little impatient with that part, but this is how you can help yourself. And this is. There are many components to this that can help you go deeper, and you can get access to that information on my website. But this is the key steps.
And that's an awesome point where we can actually pause here, because what we're going to do is when you come back, we're going to talk a little bit further about, of course, taking your fears to freedom. And this has been totally incredible already. So much information, Deb. But we're going to take a break, so everybody stay with us. Remember, you can Skype into W4WN Radio if you'd like to ask Deborah a question and join us on live as well. We'll be back in a moment. Thank you.
Now that I have your attention, ladies, when you need help breaking through the barriers that weigh you down, turning to food is not going to help, and starving yourself along with ongoing feelings of helplessness and frustration will not help either. The cycle of self-sabotage, disordered eating, and stinking thinking has to stop, and there is no better way than with other smart, business-savvy women like you who are making the change with best-selling author, licensed master NLP practitioner, and trusted guide, Lisa Lieberman-Wang of Find2Fab.com. Lisa will help you get that breakthrough you've been waiting for. Go to Find2Fabshow.com right now for all the details of the life-changing 10-week transformational program and the special listeners promotion. It's time to turn your life from feeling fine to being fab. Fabulous, awesome, beautiful. Go to Find2Fabshow.com now.
Feeling tired and achy? Frustrated with allergies? Stress causing you high blood pressure? If you're ready to feel better, have more energy, maintain healthy cholesterol levels, joint flexibility and circulation, looking to reduce inflammation, support healthy glucose levels and sinus relief, plus so much more, Isotonics OPC3 is a food supplement made from a combination of bilberry, grapeseed, red wine, and pine bark extracts, and citrus extract bioflavonoids, all found to be powerful antioxidants. Oligomeric proanthocyanins, OPCs, are bioflavonoids found in fruit, vegetables, and certain tree barks that provide exceptional nutritional benefits to the human body. Studies have shown OPCs to be up to 20 times more powerful than vitamin C and 50 times more powerful than vitamin E in neutralizing free radicals. Isotonics is delivered in an isotonic solution, which means that the body has less work to do in obtaining maximum absorption, as you can drink your vitamins. No pills, binders, or fillers. Buy now at www.amillionproducts.com. Isotonics OPC3.
If you've always wanted someone to connect with on your path to a happy, healthy you, I've got great news. In her #1 best-selling book, Fine to Fab, 7 Secrets of a Successful Woman's Journey Away from Depression, Disordered Eating, and Self-Sabotage, Lisa Lieberman-Wang shares how you can experience your breakthrough just as she did. Start living an authentic life without blame, shame, or years of therapy. Buy now at finetofab.com.
Welcome back. I am with Deborah Battersby, and she is absolutely incredible, as you've heard. I'm excited to be learning as well as sharing all this incredible information of how to turn your fears into freedom and understanding our emotional guidance and having all new definitions for fear. Deb, this has been incredible. And here you now, I hear a feedback. Hearing you now, people probably think you had it easy and you always had this figured out because you've been serving so many people at such a high level. Share with us some of the struggles and challenges you faced along the way and how you had to resolve it. Because I'm sure that the breathing exercise wasn't the only thing that you had to do because it goes so much deeper than that.
Well, the biggest challenge for all of us is, we have been conditioned since we were probably in the crib, that it's not okay to cry. It's not okay to, throw a tantrum. It's not okay to be mad or angry or spiteful or jealous or feel rejected or disappointed. We have been conditioned from the start that certain emotions are inappropriate and unacceptable. In fact, much of our we get actually rewards withdrawn from us when we express certain emotions. Attention is withdrawn, love is withdrawn, appreciation is withdrawn when we are, when we're just plain mad or angry or we want to kick our feet and we want to scream that this isn't right. So we have learned to suppress our feelings and not trust them. Because let's face it, if being angry is not appropriate, well, especially for women, oh my gosh, to throw a tantrum for a little girl, how unladylike. I mean, have you ever heard that?
Oh, I've heard that.
and so we have been taught to repress and deny our emotions. And here's the weird thing about it. We've been taught that certain things, like let's say spite or just jealousy, are just not acceptable. And so we do everything we can think of to not feel those emotions, right? And yet they keep showing up. We don't want anybody to notice they show up, but they show up. And so we think, okay, I've been told it's not right. I'm trying harder than I can imagine to not feel them. They keep showing up and I know they're wrong. So there must be something wrong with me. This to me is the beginning of our mistrust of ourselves. That because we feel sad, because we feel depressed, because we feel hurt and disappointed and frustrated and angry, we think, well, you know what? Nobody's supposed to feel those things. And I am trying to be a good girl. I'm trying to really behave myself. But I still feel these things. So obviously something's wrong with me. So the biggest hurdle we face is to drop that whole perspective. And it's hard. We've been conditioned a long time in a completely different paradigm. So my mission, for humanity is to change the paradigm around emotion. That emotion is not, that it's not good and bad. It just is guidance. And that we're supposed to embrace it because there is wisdom in it.
Give us an example, Deb, of something that you've had to embrace where you thought it was bad at one point, but you turned it into something else.
Well, for example, it's really kind of silly, and I'm going to give you a really silly one so you can see that it kind of works in anything. a couple of years ago, I was at my sister's house, and I don't know if you've ever seen angel cards. And we were passing, we were just, my sisters and my mom and I, we were together, and we were just drawing angel cards. And my sister Kathy drew a card, and it was the Angel of Miracles. And instantly, I felt this twinge in my stomach, and I just dismissed it, and I thought, oh no. I have to, really have to look at this, because this is what I was exploring, these twinges, these signals that we get in the body. So I just kind of sat with that twinge for a moment, and I said, what is that? What is that? And the twinge kind of came clear to me that this is jealousy. And I know that sounds really stupid, being jealous over an angel card, but yes, that's how my nervous system responded. And I thought, oh my God, I feel jealous. This is crazy. And then I just sat with that emotion, and I said, okay, why are you here? What do you want from me? And as I just and I've learned to really get still and quiet for that. And the answer that came was, and I'm going to tell you exactly how it communicated to me, is, it's okay, honey. Don't worry. I'm just here to show you what you want.
It's interesting.
Yeah. So how many times has anyone ever told you that jealousy is really an indication of seeing something in the environment that you would also want for yourself? Now, is there anything wrong with that?
No, not when you put it that way.
Well, I didn't know how to put it that way until I started really listening for the wisdom behind these emotions. I'll give you an example in terms of doubt. Every single one of us, have had an experience, if we're growing in our careers and our businesses or our relationships, or, even if we're not, there are times when we experience doubt. And so, and self-doubt is probably one of the biggest limiters that a human being can embrace, because they interpret that to mean, I'm not ready, I'm not enough. When self-doubt shows up, it can have myriad intentions behind it. All of it for your highest good. So for me, when doubt shows up, the questions I have to, really sit with that feeling and go, okay, what is it that this is trying to communicate? What do you want for me? And, the funny thing is, doubt will sometimes say things like, I want you to remember the last time you had something similar like this and you were extraordinary. I want you to remember all the cool things that you've done in even more challenging situations, because it wants you to access other resources, because right now you're not remembering them. Doubt can also say, hey, remember the time you screwed that up royally? What was it that created that outcome? And what can we do now to prepare differently? Does that make sense? It's kind of like your emotions are these amazing built-in coaches. They're going, hey, remember this? Have you thought of that? You need to do this. Let's step up here. Let's back off here.
So it's like embrace it. It's actually a guide. It's something that's just telling you a different perspective to look at it versus something that's there to stop you.
Exactly. And I used to let my emotions dictate whether I would, if I was feeling scared, then, like if, let's say you're in a board meeting or you're in a business meeting and you're not feeling as sure of yourself, I would let that keep me quiet. We all have our ability to be invisible. It's kind of like you could be in a room and nobody will notice you. And sometimes, honestly, in our protective, in our emotions' intention to protect us, there probably was a time when you or I were very vulnerable and we were in a room that we didn't want to be in, and we sure as heck didn't want the attention of a particular person in that room. So we developed strategies on how to shrink, how to pull back, how to be unseen or unnoticed. And so when fear kicks in and we don't know what it really wants for us, sometimes we will revert to a protective strategy when we weren't supposed to move to a protective strategy. And here's the funny thing about these emotions that are so beautiful in serving us, is they become patterns within our system, within what I call the matrix. Patterns of belief, patterns of emotion, patterns of language, patterns of habit. And they continue to do their job even if their original intention has been fulfilled. That's where it gets a little tricky, because the unconscious doesn't want to let go of anything that works. And so anytime we feel threatened, shrinking was a great strategy when we were maybe 3 or 4, or maybe in certain environments, even when we were in our teens or adulthood. But it's not the pattern that is going to take us where we need to go in business. So in this construct or in this context, we need to find a way to help those emotions be resolved so that they only come when they're needed, that they don't just hang out because they knew that they were protecting you when you were 3, 4, 5, 15, 20, 25, whatever age, and yet they're still on guard doing their job because the unconscious doesn't know that you don't need them anymore. Does that make sense, Lisa?
It does, but we need to know how to take them off guard so that we don't have them keep coming up. And we only have a couple minutes to do that. So why don't you give our listeners a few tips that they can apply daily to achieve an authentic life now, and help put that to rest?
The first thing is you embrace your emotions. They are here to serve you. You remember that, and that is the first step to freedom, because you're not fighting them anymore. And oh my God, how much energy will you have when you don't have to fight or suppress those emotions anymore? And the second step is to know that you have the power to change your behavior and change your life. You have that power. That is the beautiful thing about this organism that we call our physical construct. It has the power to embrace those emotions, have those dialogues, resolve those conflicts, and change everything forever. It's so amazing because we have the capacity to transform, to go from the caterpillar to the butterfly. And we can do that within our thinking processes and our emotion processes and changing behaviors. And then that to just understand that nothing that comes from you, nothing that happens within you in terms of your emotional reaction is ever meant for anything but your highest good.
That's awesome. And Deb, what is some things that we're going to close with this? I want people to also know how to contact you, but before we do, what do you do to take care of yourself mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally? What is your things?
Well, for me, gratitude is one of the first things that I do. And I tell people I count my blessings, and I mean that literally. It's like I'll walk around and I'll just count my blessings. If I'm on a walk, I'm going to count my blessings. I was enjoying the sunshine down in my yard today, and I was just counting the blessings. And one of the things that hadn't occurred to me in a while was, oh my gosh, the blessing of color. How bright and beautiful the world is. I could see the colors of the flowers and the different shades of green, and you know, I could see birds of different colors, and we have this big trumpet vine that attracts these hummingbirds and these bright golden flowers, and I'm looking at this beautiful blue sky and white fluffy clouds, and I never really thought about it but what a blessing it is to live life in color.
Mm-hmm. And also to be able to take that in and appreciate it now is awesome.
Yeah. and that, that life is really meant for us to experience joy and gratitude. And the quickest way to get there is to count your blessings. And when I'm cranky as all get out, and that's what I need to do.
That's awesome. And Deb, how are our listeners going to get in touch with you and be able to follow some of the incredible things you've been doing out there? Can you share that information?
Yes. My website is successmatrix.com. SUCCESS Matrix MATRIX.com. And if you go to my website, there's a lovely gift for you. I have a goal getting workshop for you, a workbook and an MP3 recording that goes with that. And you're welcome to just, enter your details and download that for free. So please take advantage of that. Have fun with it, and, send me a communication. Let me know how that worked for you.
That's awesome, because I think everybody needs a goal-getting guide.
Yeah, I spent a lot of years goal setting, and I thought, well, I set a lot of goals that I didn't get to, so I decided that I wanted to approach this very differently. I wanted a goal-getting guide so that I knew that once I started, I was going to get that goal.
I love that. That's awesome. I'm going to steal that from you, okay? But I'll give them a source where I got it.
You're very welcome to share it with the world. And, maybe there's this one thing, that I'd like to encourage our listeners, and that's to stop waiting. Just stop waiting and start playing, and play as big as you want.
And that's a great feedback and information to say, because so many people are waiting for the right time, the right place, the right person. There's so much waiting going on, because the fear in the past would get in their way and wouldn't be playing full out. So making this something we can play makes it easier. And that goes back to that child you talked about at the very beginning, where we had all these rules that stopped us. So as adults, we can give ourselves the right to go play, which would be awesome.
Totally. And that is the key to freedom. Stop waiting. The longer you wait, the longer you're in jail, the longer you're limited. And so it is the ultimate step to freedom. Stop waiting. Whatever it is you're waiting for, do it. Start playing. Take the first step. That's where the freedom is. The freedom is not in thinking about it.
Deb, this is outstanding. I thank you so much for being here as my guest. And it went so fast as the time I knew would, because just speaking with you is always like this, is lightning speed of a lot of wonderful information. And we'll make sure our listeners have the link. They can go to findtofab.com, and you'll be able to hear this again and take copious notes, and also have a link to find Deb on her site and get her free gift. So I want to thank you all for being here. Remember, you're fabulous, awesome, beautiful, and go out and do something incredible today. Love you all. Bye.
Bye.
There. This is your life talking to you. Yes, I know it's unusual. You think that you are just living your life, but now here I am. I just had to speak up if you and I are going to have the best. Yes, you've had some success with me, but things could be better. I know how tough it's been to fight depression and the habits that lead you to self-sabotage and disordered eating. I applaud you for all the professional and self-help remedies that you have tried so far. But let's face it, they haven't worked. But it's not your fault. I know. I was there, remember? It's time that you listen to me for a change. I want you to go to www.findtofabshow.com and find out how best-selling author Lisa Lieberman-Wang can make me, your life, fabulous. Right now, Lisa is offering a 10-week transformational program for us. Mention the show, and we'll get a really great discount. Hey, I'd go online and do it for us, but I don't have any fingers. So go ahead and go to www.findtofabshow.com, and let's make the changes we need today so we can have a better tomorrow.